Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily, the first English news program in Poland. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. President of Poland, Andrzej Duda, has signed an amendment to the act concerning the electricity price, which will not increase. The president's spokesperson, Błażej Spychowski, informed that the amendment includes reduction of excess duty for electricity and the reduction of interim payment.
The amendment will keep the price of the electricity from June 30 of 2018. The government adopted the act on Friday and the Senate accepted it at night from Friday to Saturday without any corrections. The amendment, which is to apply from January 1st, provides a reduction of excise duty from 20 to 5 zloty per megawatt per hour and a reduction of the transitional tax by 95%. Another solution are compensations from energy trading companies. The act applies to all recipients in the country, so more than 70.5 million consumers of electricity, including households, local governments, enterprises, hospitals, hospices, or orphanages.
The Polish political scene in 2019 will be dominated by two sets of elections, one to the European Parliament and the second one to the Polish Parliament. The two elections will determine the political strategies of both the ruling and the opposition party. The opposition aim to remove the Law and Justice from power at all costs, while the ruling Law and Justice in turn counts on repeating the great electoral success of 2015.
The coming year will be marked by elections, first in May to the European Parliament and later in the fall to the Polish Parliament, Sejm and Senate. As for the political party Modern, it will be a deciding year for its political existence.
Zatrzymanie polexitu.
We aim to stop the poll exit, to stop the destruction of the rule of law, and these goals depend on the results in the parliamentary election, and this must be a good election. This is what I wish for the Poles.
Dobre zagłosowanie w wyborach i europejskich i parlamentarnych, czego bardzo serdecznie Polakom życzę.
As for now, what challenges Modern has established for itself, and are you worried that the Modern will be devoured by the civic platform?
Do tej pory dobrą strategię, na przykład w wyborach samorządowych.
We have not been executing good strategies so far, as can be seen in local government elections, but this is the moment when you have to put aside your ambitions and focus on what is most important, and it is important now that Poland's position in Europe does not weaken, as now it weakens every day.
Polska nie słabła w oczach, co jest bardzo widoczne, jeśli chodzi o naszą pozycję w Europie.
The civic platform has much stronger aspirations, confident of winning in the next elections and aiming for the president seat in the 2020 elections. I am confident of the upcoming project, and after we win the elections in 2019, we will move on to the fourth battle for the presidential seat. We will have the best candidate for Poland, Donald Tusk, with his position in the European Union. In turn, the Polish People's Party aims to unite all opposition parties in the fight for winning with current governing party Law and Justice. No one says that we are going to the elections just to win against the Law and Justice party, but we want to present a program that will be attractive to Poles. Said program is being composed not only by our party, but also in other electoral groups. The parliamentarians of the ruling party look forward to the new year with great optimism. More than 40% approval rating 3 years after elections is a very good result. When it comes to EU elections, it will completely change the balance of power. We believe that we will win these elections and elections to the Polish parliament. We want to continue what we are doing, we are credible to our voters, and it shows even by the example of energy discounts. Everyone needs to remember that we are dealing with wolves in sheep's clothing.
To są wilki, tylko oni są ubrani w owczą skórę, ale to są ciągle wilki.
The political water stirs on as always, while the coming year promises to be even more intense.
Speaking at noon to the faithful before the Angelus prayer, Pope Francis referred to the Holy Family celebrated today and pointed to the need to heal interpersonal relationships and open wounds in the family environment. The Pope prayed today with the faithful for all the families of the world, especially for those in which, as he said during the meeting in Vatican, for various reasons lack peace and harmony.
When the family has problems, we are often too certain that we are correct and tend to shut the door for others. But we should consider the positive things we can say about the other person. We have to appreciate the good side of them, because it helps unite the family. If you have problems with your family, consider the positive facet of everyone and the part they partake. It helps to heal the scars.
The partial government shutdown in the US hasn't been resolved, as the Democrats still refuse to give President Trump the funding he needed for building a wall on the southern border. The latest controversy regarding the border surrounds the death of 2 young migrants in U.S. custody and the murder of a police officer by an illegal migrant.
A suspected illegal immigrant accused of shooting to death a California police officer was arrested on Friday after a 2-day manhunt that President Donald Trump cited in his push for building a wall on the border with Mexico, officials said. The suspect was arrested in Bakersfield, a city less than 200 miles south of Newman, where the police officer was shot early on Wednesday, Stanislaus County Sheriff Adam Christensen said at the news conference.
This criminal, Mr. Arriaga, crossed our border illegally into Arizona some time ago. He is a criminal. He has 2 prior arrests for DUI. Remember, that's the reason that Officer Singh stopped him, because we had probable cause to believe that he was under the influence of alcohol. I am pleased and very proud of the fact that the suspect is in custody. He has been apprehended in Bakersfield. He was safely taken into custody earlier today by teams from the Kern County Sheriff's Office and many other law enforcement agencies who have helped us relentlessly pursue this suspect in pursuit of justice. Gustavo Perez Arriaga, 33 years old, again, was arrested earlier today during the execution of a search warrant. He was found at a residence in the Bakersfield, Kern County area.
Please bear with me. This is not easy for me. Ranil Singh was my older brother. Yes, he's not coming back, but there's a lot of people out there that misses him, and a lot of law enforcement people that I don't know that work days and nights to make this happen. I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart to make this happen. I wish I could thank all the law enforcement agencies, Homeland Security in San Francisco, everyone, Bakersfield team. I was waiting for this to happen. I'd like to thank you, working day and night to make this happen. Thank you.
Meanwhile, the Democrats blamed the death of the 2 young migrants who recently died while in custody after being apprehended by U.S. border guards on the border policy of Donald Trump. They claim his harsh stance on migration must be softened. However, the President of the United States has tweeted that the Democrats are in fact to blame.
Any deaths of children or others at the border are strictly the fault of the Democrats and their pathetic immigration policies that allow people to make the long trek thinking they can enter our country illegally. They can't. If we had a wall, they wouldn't even try. The 2 children in question were very sick before they were given over to Border Patrol. The father of the young girl said it was not their fault. He hadn't given her water in days. Border Patrol needs the wall and it will all end. They are working so hard and getting so little credit.
That's it for today. See you next time on Poland Daily. But stay tuned for the Poland Daily Weather Report, followed by the Poland Daily Business section.
I'm Aleksandra Zarzycka and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Let's take a look at the forecast for tonight. A warm night across the country with temperatures ranging between 2 degrees in Białystok and Lublin to 6 degrees in Szczecin and Koszalin. Some snowfall is expected around Rzeszów. Rain will appear throughout the country. On Monday, more sun is expected in the northwest. Snowfall will appear in Białystok and Olsztyn. Temperatures ranging between 2 to 5 degrees in Gdańsk and Kraków. Some mixed rain and snow is expected in southern Poland. Let's see the forecast for the following 3 days. On Tuesday, the temperature will rise to 8 degrees in the northwest. A minimum temperature is 3 degrees in Rzeszów. On Wednesday, the temperature will drop to -1 in the Białystok. Snowfall is expected across the Poland. On Tuesday, we expected another temperature drop to -2 degrees on the east. Snowfall will appear in the most regions. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Poland Daily Business section. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. Despite the objection voiced by numerous leaders in the Central Eastern Europe, as well as the US President Donald Trump, the European Commissioner for Budget and Human Resources, Günther Oettinger, stated recently that the construction of the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline is too advanced to stop. The pipeline will allow for Russian gas to flow to Germany on the bottom of the Baltic Sea, bypassing Central Eastern Europe. Countries such as Poland and Ukraine consider the pipeline a threat to their energy security, as it will make it possible for Russia to cut these countries off at will. However, their objections don't seem to resonate with the EU. The accommodation industry in Poland tallied yet another successful year in 2018, with record-breaking numbers of hotel bookings. Investments are expected to surge if the trend continues. Multiple online booking websites show dramatic increase of interest in long-distance vacations and overnight accommodations amongst user bases. Some seaside town in Poland reported a 75% raise in prices of overnight stay in July compared to last year, while many popular Polish cities saw a spike in summer reservations of well over 100%. A recent audit done by the Polish Supreme Audit Office, NIK, found drastic difference in quality of German products sold in Germany and those exported to Poland. NIK has carried out over 50,000 audits over the past 4 years and found a shocking 38% of imported products not meeting standards of directives, while around 20% of German imported food products meet the critique for low quality. Out of the 101 pair of products inspected by the NIK, 12 were discovered to have significant differences between the products, with those earmarked for a Polish market very often being inferior. That's it for today. See you next time on Poland Daily Business. Next up, our very own Alexander Wojciechowski and his special guests.
This is Poland Daily Business Edition. Our guest tonight is Piotr Hoffman of HM Investments. Sir, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Construction business is our topic for tonight. Construction business and developers are under stress in Poland because normally you deliver a house in 2-3 years, and the last 3 years we saw rapid growth of labor cost and material cost. So that means they are undercutting the profits. And what to do in such a situation, especially if Poland wants to build hundreds of thousands of apartment blocks on the reasonable price for its citizens.
Yes, as you said, so we have the problem about the prices, about the prices of the land, about the prices of the construction, but still we have the problem about the law, about the situation on the Polish real estate
so
construction. The legal
regulations may be a solution for the problem.
One of them, because of course it must be everything going together without the correct new law implementation and without the new legal answer for the market, all the rest can't be running perfect. So the new implementation, the new law implementation, which we really need, it's how to cover the country, the area of the country with the master plans. It's very, very difficult for us as developers, as investors, the same for the commercial way as on the BGK end, so BGK real estate company way, that we don't have the master plan. Master plan describe what you can build in which area, so it's very easy then, maybe not very easy, but much easier to go for the final document which you need to start the construction as a building permit. The land which is without master plan, you need to apply for the building condition. It's called in Polish administration language, it's warunki zabudowy. It's a very long process. That's why in July this year, 2018, the new act was appealed. So the act called Special Housing Act. This act should help us as investors, I mean the commercial and the apartment plus investors to run faster with the building permit, because building permit for the investor is some kind of a driving license for all of us. Without this document, we can't go further, we can't go for the construction, we can't apply for the financing to the bank or another financing institution for the finance, for the money, for the investment. So this Special Housing Act, I hope, will change some situation. It's quite modern, so it's just a couple of months running. We, as HM Invest, prepare now one land in Warsaw, which we will apply. We shall apply soon, I mean in 2-3 months, to the architectural department in Warsaw in this new housing, Special Housing Act regulation. So I hope we can say after this how really it runs, because we have to change
this will streamline the process of getting the starting the construction, because
especially on these areas where we don't have the master plan, or sometimes the master plan is completely old. It's, for example, now we see the areas
developed in 1960s or 1970s.
1970s, it was for some factories area. Now it's already apartments areas, residential area. So it has to be changed. And another very important thing, which happens is this year and will start in January 2019, so next year, is an act which changed the perpetual usufruct for the right of the ownership for the old people who owns now the apartment. So it's very important, because in Poland it's maybe some kind of similar in England, because in England there is some special perpetual
not the
usufruct.
Ownership, but like conditional ownership. You
now,
own it, but
you
in
own
fact you don't.
Yes, but now it will be changed. So all apartments which are in apartments buildings, now this part of the land which belongs to the apartment, because as you can imagine, you have the building built on some plot, so this part of the plot which belongs to the apartment now will be changed for the ownership. Very important, because it changed our position of the apartments owner. They will be now really owners, and as for the future, for the developers, for the project, it's changed as well, because then the ownership, it's much easier to apply for all this administration decision when you have only this perpetual usufruct. Sometimes it was, as a master plan described, that you must use it for, I don't know, factory or for some historical way, and now it's already changed, because all our cities changed in 25 years.
Because it's living body and everything changed. And Poland that's good. That is very fast developing.
Even in 1970s, 1980s, you had a lot of spaces in Warsaw when was the factories inside the city. Now it's changed. It's a residential area, so it's important.
The production is somewhere else.
Outside the cities.
Thank you very much for this brief conversation about the legal problem. It might have been, look to you, quite complicated, but imagine how it looks for the developers.
It's not really easy, but yes, but I hope it's changed now.
Piotr Hoffman, CEO of HM Investment, was our guest, and that was it for tonight's Poland Daily Business.
Good night, thank you.
I'm Aleksandra Zarzycka and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Let's take a look at the forecast for tonight. A warm night across the country with temperatures ranging between 2 degrees in Białystok and Lublin to 6 degrees in Szczecin and Koszalin. Some snowfall is expected around Rzeszów. Rain will appear throughout the country. On Monday, more sun is expected in the northwest. Snowfall will appear in Białystok and Olsztyn. Temperatures ranging between 2 to 5 degrees in Gdańsk and Kraków. Some mixed rain and snow is expected in southern Poland. Let's see the forecast for the following 3 days. On Tuesday, the temperature will rise to 8 degrees in the northwest. A minimum temperature is 3 degrees in Rzeszów. On Wednesday, the temperature will drop to -1 in Białystok. Snowfall is expected across the Poland. On Tuesday, we expected another temperature drop to -2 degrees on the east. Snowfall will appear in the most regions. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Welcome to Poland Daily Culture. We're here today at Potocki Palace. And how do you spread the message about this project?
We popularize the subject of wartime losses by running our website about looted artworks from Poland. We involve in educational projects, specialized conference in Poland and abroad, and we publish also publication about the history of looting, auction catalogs of looted artworks, which we send to auction houses in Poland and abroad, and to Polish embassies around the world. And last but not least, we co-produce a project which called The Lost Museum. It's a multimedia show which is annually presented during the museum night in Poland, but it's also available on the internet. We do everything to disseminate the images of the wartime losses, because we believe that is the first step on the way to recover objects.
So could you tell us about some of the most notable property that has been recovered and where it is today? Maybe it's available for the public to see.
In the last 10 years, we recovered 35 objects and 2 collections of ethnographical objects. One with 347 objects and second with 124. And that's altogether 500 recovered objects. Most of them we recovered from Germany, but the other country where we find many artworks is the United States. We also recovered artworks from France, from Austria, and from United Kingdom, but also from Poland. We must not forget about Poland. We recovered from in our domestic restitution 5 works, and now find more and more. But I think most notable is the Palace Stairs by Francesco Guardi. It's the painting which is now in National Museum in Warsaw, and it was there since 1925. But in November 1939, Germans took the painting from Warsaw and transported it to Jagiellonian Library in Krakow, where the biggest storage of confiscated artworks were in Poland. And then in 1943 it was brought to Hans Frank, the general governor, and it hangs in his cabinet. And when the evacuation of the general governor office occurred in 1935, the painting was moved to Sichów Castle in Lower Silesia. And then we didn't have any clues. But many years ago we found documents that confirmed that the painting was in central collecting point in Munich. This was the place where looted artworks found in American occupation zone in Germany were held. And then it was transported to Heidelberg University and then moved to National Gallery in Stuttgart. We found out about this from a German researcher. And in 2010 we sent a restitution claim, but for 3 years the case has not progressed. That's why we decided to involve a law firm from Berlin. And after several press releases, which was part of our strategy, the institutions involved in this case admitted that they don't have a right to keep hold of the painting and decided to return it in 2014. So now it's on the display in National Museum in Warsaw. But second most valuable is a sculpture. It's a marble bust of Diana, the ancient goddess, made by the French sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdon. It was since late 18th century a part of collection of last king of Poland, Stanisław August, and it was in Royal Palace in Łazienki. It was missing since 1930. And in 2015, it was put up for sale in Vienna auction house. We immediately stopped the auction, and with the help of Polish embassy in Vienna and two law firms, one German, one Austrian, we started to negotiate with the possessor, and after half a year of negotiation, the possessor decided to give it back to Poland, and now it is also can be seen in the ballroom in Royal Palace in Łazienki. But as I said, one of our interested countries is United States, because in the United States we found many looted artworks. One example is the portrait of a young man by Krzysztof Lubieniecki. This painting also was from National Museum in Warsaw, and it was evacuated with many other artworks during Warsaw Uprising in 2044 by Nazis to storage in Fischl Castle in Austria. And then we didn't know anything about this painting. But in 2009, an American citizen wrote to us that he found a photograph with one of his family members in an American uniform with this painting hanging behind him. So he looked for this painting in the internet, and he found the information that this is a Polish wartime loss. He found this information on our website, and he decided to inform us about it. Unfortunately, he told that the family sold this painting in 1980s or 1990s, he didn't know exactly, to a private collection in Ohio, Columbus. So no information more. We involved Federal Bureau of Investigation in the United States, and in 2015 they confirmed that they located the painting. They only asked us for confirmation, so we sent to the United States two specialists, one conservator from National Museum in Warsaw, and our ministry employee went to the United States and confirmed that this work we are looking for. And the individual possessor decided to return it to Poland unconditionally.
A success story in the end. Well, thank you very much for joining us here, Ms. Agata Mojalewska. That's all we have time for on Poland Daily Culture. Thank you.
In 2018, the Ministry of Culture and National Heritage successfully recovered the following artworks. A painting from the 17th century entitled Portrait of a Lady by Melchior Geldorp, stolen during the Second World War from the National Museum in Warsaw. The painting was recovered thanks to the cooperation of the Ministry of Culture and National Heritage with the investigative agency within the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. The painting was returned to the National Museum in Warsaw. Another part of the pre-war ethnographic collection from the Ethnographic Museum in Łódź was recovered. The collection was lost and became dispersed as a result of the Second World War. 124 historical ethnographic objects and 14 archival photographs returned to Poland for Leipzig. The painting Descent of the Holy Spirit, considered to date back to about 1610, painted by Isaac van der Blokke, an eminent painter from Gdańsk. For several decades, this cultural asset was thought to have been lost. After many years of restitution process, the painting was officially transferred to the National Museum in Gdańsk. An archaeological heritage item, a red figure lekythos with handle decorated with sphinx dating back to the 4th century BC, was an item from Józef Hajnowski's collection exhibited by the National Museum in Warsaw before the Second World War. The lekythos was officially transferred to the National Museum in Warsaw.
Thank you for joining us here today at Poland Daily from Potocki Palace. Join us again tomorrow for another journey through Polish culture and heritage.
Hi, I'm Phil Goss with Poland Daily. We're here at the Royal Castle in Warsaw today to talk to the historian and the curator, both responsible for the exhibit Znaki Wolności, or Signs of Freedom. Continuing our walk through Polish history with Dr. Krzysztof Jabłońka. Dr. Jabłońka, tell us, how did Solidarity get its beginnings?
Ojcem Solidarności niewątpliwie był Jan Paweł II.
The father of Solidarity was without question John Paul II. From the moment he was chosen, it was clear that great things would happen in Poland, but nobody expected them to be that great.
Gdy nad głową papieża był ogromny neon hotelu Victoria.
When John Paul II was at Victory Square with a great neon sign above him from the Hotel Victoria, it was clear that a battle had begun, but a spiritual battle, a battle of character. At this square, the words, "Let your spirit enter and renew the face of this land," were uttered. A year later, the Gdańsk shipyard gave a signal, and 10 million people banded together into one great union.
Nagle w jeden wielki związek zawodowy. To było podziemie polskie, które wyszło.
This was the Polish underground that had come to light. It was given the name Solidarność, Solidarity, and its symbol became letters seen in the crowd together with a national banner being carried above people's heads.
Sztandarem nad głową. Solidarność.
There was solidarity between people in everyday life who had to help each other because they were fighting for the same freedom. It should be noted that this is missing today.
Musieliśmy walczyć. No, muszę tylko dodać, że tego mi właśnie dzisiaj brakuje.
We got to a point where martial law was declared by the communist regime to control Solidarity in the various uprisings they were having, whether at the Gdańsk shipyard or in other cities in Poland. How did martial law influence the Polish people?
Trzeba przyznać, że myśmy się spodziewali, że to będzie.
To be honest, this was foreseen. Some regions of the Solidarity movement even prepared for this and took their money out of bank accounts. Yet when the tanks showed up on the streets, that's when it really hit home that war had been declared, but a spiritual war, a war without shots being fired. People did die, but they normally died in the crowd from heart conditions and other illnesses. The most important thing was understanding that if the communist authorities brought the army and their tanks onto the streets, they were finished. And paradoxically, people were happy that this was the end of communism. Now, all that was required was to wait for it to topple over.
Tak, to jest już koniec komunizmu. Teraz tylko trzeba odczekać, aż on się...
The declaration of war against the nation meant they had lost. This belief allowed for people to survive martial law for 10 years, up until the moment of its complete destruction and the beginning of the reforms.
Destrukcji i początku reform, których byliśmy świadkami.
As I understand it, though, General Jaruzelski said he sent the troops on the street to prevent a Soviet invasion from the Czech Republic and from Eastern Germany. How do you look at his interpretation of that?
Początkowo sądziliśmy, że rzeczywiście może być zagrożenie, zarówno ze strony Czechosłowacji.
At the beginning, there was indeed a belief that there could be a danger in this.
Czechów po naszym najeździe na ich kraj. Baliśmy się ze strony
Although the danger wasn't expected from the Czech or German side, but the Soviet Union, although this threat had occurred a year earlier and there were tanks and other vehicles on the border then.
Ale Związek Sowiecki cofnął się.
but the Soviet Union withdrew, influenced by Zbigniew Brzezinski and his very clear declaration that the United States would get involved.
Zjednoczone się zaangażują, Rosja się cofnęła.
In this case, General Jaruzelski wasn't trusted. He was more likely to ask the Russians for help than save Poland from them.
Będzie chciał nas ratować.
Martial law was against the nation, and whoever had a hand in it was the enemy of the nation and their own family. That's how it looked in practice.
Własnej rodziny. Tak to wyglądało w praktyce.
Thank you, Dr. Jabłonka. The 100th anniversary of Poland regaining its independence has prompted many Poles to look back at the period between the outbreak of the First World War in 1914 and the fall of communism in Central Europe in 1989. Generations of Poles fought and bled for regaining or defending the nation's sovereignty. A new exhibition, Signs of Freedom at the Royal Castle in Warsaw, is dedicated to those years precisely. Today, we will speak with the exhibition's curator, Professor Kosowski, about the role of the Polish Pope and solidarity in winning back sovereignty after 45 years of communist occupation by Soviet Russia. Speaking today with Dr. Łukasz Kosowski, curator of an exhibit here at the Royal Castle in Warsaw. Dr. Kosowski, when we look at the development of solidarity, or earlier perhaps the election of Karol Wojtyła as John Paul II, Pope of the Catholic Church in Rome, we can see that these are clearly benchmark moments in Polish history. How do you show that in the exhibit?
Pokazujemy moment wybuchu Solidarności.
We show the moment Solidarity began and organically joined that with John Paul II being elected Pope.
Te dwa fakty się łączą.
It could be said that there would be no solidarity without John Paul II, although that goes without saying.
Brzmi banalnie. Na wystawie pokazujemy to w takim kontekście, że
in this exhibit, we show it in the context that we have the national uprising with the aim to try and fight without violence.
Założeniem, że nie podejmujemy walki zbrojnej, tylko próbujemy walczyć bez przemocy, nie używając przemocy. I mamy wreszcie zjednoczenie narodu, gdzie Solidarność
and we have the coming together of the nation, where in a short space of time the Solidarity movement has 10 million members, so it's a common movement, there are no class divisions.
Fakt. Natomiast
the moment Solidarity erupts is particularly dangerous and comparable to other Polish uprisings from the 19th century. It is a moment of despair from the Polish point of view.
Z punktu widzenia Polaków istnieje taki kontekst międzynarodowy, gdzie
the chances of success are practically zero in the macro scale with the American-Soviet relationship and the politics in Europe at the time. We don't have any chance, so it really is a hopeless uprising without any chance of succeeding.
Powstanie rzeczywiście beznadziejne i rzeczywiście bez szans. I można powiedzieć, że staje się rzeczywisty cud, czyli jednak się udaje.
Then a miracle occurs and it becomes possible. In the exhibit we show photographs of praying shipyard workers during the strikes on the coast of Gdynia and the prayers of the peasant soldiers before the Battle of Racławice.
Na wybrzeżu w Gdyni i modlących się kosynierów przed bitwą pod Racławicami, czyli znowu.
So once again, we refer to the uprisings from the 19th century. In short, the determination, feeling of despair and the unbelievable risk taken in both of these situations is similar, but thankfully it's successful.
Ale na szczęście się udaje.
Dr. Kosowski, so when we fast forward just a few more years, we end up with a situation of martial law here in Poland. How do you show that period of Polish history?
Ten karnawał Solidarności, czyli ten rok, w którym
The Carnival of Solidarity, so the year when Solidarity was able to function, was a particularly difficult period, lined with unrelenting provocations, like the one in Bydgoszcz, and tensions.
Krótko mówiąc, cytując, tytuł znanego filmu to był taki piknik pod...
In short, to cite a famous film, it was a picnic under a rock that will soon fall, meaning a Soviet Union intervention or the implementation of martial law by General Jaruzelski.
Jego huntę. Niemniej o tym było jak gdyby...
Nevertheless, this was known from the beginning that the system would not allow for the existence of a free organization and its structure, this being the Free Trade Union. If such a healthy organization exists in a totalitarian system, then in the space of a short time the system will break, so obviously the Soviets could not allow this.
Niemniej może takim prezentowanym na wystawie właśnie dokumentem kluczowym jest przesłanie.
A key document shown at the exhibit is a message from the First Solidarity Union to the working classes of Central Eastern Europe, offering them full freedom. This, as you can imagine, was unbearable for the communists, and that's when the decision was taken to implement martial law, and they did. After it ended, we returned to the idea of solidarity, and this began a free, independent Poland that we can now finally be happy about.
Do idei solidarności, co wreszcie zapoczątkowało moment.
After all the sacrifices and national tragedies, we finally achieved independence, of course with the help of many of our friends.
W zrywach, dramatach narodowych w końcu wybiliśmy się rzeczywiście na niepodległość, oczywiście przy pomocy naszych wielu przyjaciół.
Thank you, Dr. Kosowski. We've seen some of how Poland has struggled for freedom in the 20th century. Join us next time here at Poland Daily. I'm Phil Goss.
Warsaw Chopin Airport. This is where your Poland adventure begins. Whether you are taking off to some ordinary or some exotic destination, you'll feel like a kid in a candy store. Check in to check out. Warsaw's Chopin Airport. Your gateway to adventure. In this show, we're going to take you around Warsaw Chopin Airport and show you some of the things that we enjoyed during a week at the airport. We're going to talk to Adrian Kubicki, we're going to talk to Nicholas Richardson, and a few other people. You'll see a roundup of leading topics of the week. We hope you'll enjoy it. Listen, you know, the first time I ever traveled to Poland was on an aeroplane. Mm-hmm. I think it was a LOT flight, actually, from London. I believe it was. I've been on a lot of those since then.
That was a long time ago, right?
It was back before the war. Which war, they say? Which war?
It had to be LOT.
The Korean, not the Korean one. The Civil War, the American Civil War. What?
It had to be LOT, actually, or British Airways.
I think it was, yeah, it was either LOT or British Airways, but I believe it was LOT because I was surprised to be surrounded for the first time by people speaking Polish. But anyway, landed at the beautiful old airport because I was living in London.
The pink one.
What?
Was it the pink one with the pink roof, with the pink rooftop?
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was very optimistic. No, it wasn't. It was horrible. But
exotic, I guess.
It was exotic. Yeah. But since then, because I was new to a lot of big-time travel to destinations. But since then, I've been to a lot of weird places, whose airports are very surprising. But my point is this: I wanted to say that the next time I came on the train. Because that was something that you wouldn't do.
From?
And I wrote a story about it. What?
Where was it from?
Also from London. I came from London
on the train from London.
Train.
Oh my God!
But you get to see the changing countryside.
That's
so
true.
The big difference between plane travel and train travel, it seems to me. Bear with me, please. You may not agree. No, the big thing to me about plane travel and train travel is that when you get in the plane and you just appear somewhere, as if by magic almost, You go into this cylinder.
Oh, yeah, like a time machine.
Yeah, it's like a time machine, exactly. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
No wonder you're
always,
so good at your
always
job.
Here to help.
I'm thinking they're going to keep you on for a while. That wasn't, can help me too. So you have, you appear in the time machine and go from one place to the next. But with a train, you really get a sense, maybe on a ship even more, but with the train you get a real sense of the time it takes to go somewhere. And covering ground, So.
Well, so we're starting more of a philosophical discussion, but that's actually right. All this jet lag thing comes from the fact that you are actually traveling faster than sun. And this actually changes totally perception of what is the proximity of what is the distance, like actually proper distance from one place to another. Mm-hmm. But for me, to be honest, distance is never about like a proper distance measured in kilometers or miles.
Do you have any ideas? I mean, I think you're supposed to know something about the weather.
I might have some ideas.
Did you ever study meteorology or something like that?
Of course I did.
Yeah, you did. You're like an expert.
So what I would suggest, Istanbul or also Dubai is very warm, 30 degrees right now. Also, we are expecting a lot of sun in Tel Aviv.
Oh boy.
Where else? Lisbon is 14 degrees today, so what about Portugal?
I don't know. What do you think? Should we go?
The airport is nicer in Poland than it is in the United States.
Yeah.
Most of them. Although some of the smaller ones that are newer are nice in the United States.
Yeah.
But here's not too bad, actually. It's reasonably efficient, because it's new. It's very interesting to see what happens if they ever get around to building this proposed new airport.
Well, I think
45 kilometers.
Well, that'll make this airport amazing because it won't be so busy. It's not busy now, but it's ticking over.
For Friday,
Yeah, it is a Friday.
It's true. I would expect to be busy, but there we are. Yeah. It depends who's flying where and when.
Yeah.
But I do wish I was flying somewhere.
Here is business class meeting point, so if you want to set up a particular point where you want to meet with your travel companions, you can say, let's meet at LOT business class meeting point, and it's actually here. While waiting for your colleagues to come, you can admire our beautiful airplane.
Yeah, this is the Dreamliner.
The Dreamliner.
That we were talking about.
Which will take you on any transatlantic flight. Beautiful airplane, as you can see.
Thank you, Mr. Boeing.
Not just model, but the actual airplane is also magnificent. We are part of the largest airline alliance in the world, Star Alliance. And the biggest advantage of that is that LOT is not flying everywhere yet. But together with our partners, we pretty much cover the entire world. So name the destination and we're going to take you. Together with our partners, the part of the journey you'll take on board LOT airplane, but then you can connect on many airlines worldwide. We cover all continents except Antarctica. Not yet. We're not flying yet.
You're not going to Antarctica? That's where that's my next show.
Not yet. But actually, there is increasing demand and increasing interest on flying to the South Pole.
Chopin. How do you say that?
Chopin is a face of...
I always thought it was Chopin.
No.
And then somebody said he was a piano player or something?
Well, unlikely, Chopin associates with the French last name of the best Polish composer, but we have to remember that this is Polish composer. Actually, I have an anecdote regarding that. Recently, I went to Singapore with my family to spend some time there. And by the way, we have direct connection right now, direct flights from Warsaw to Singapore. And there is a park, like Botanic Garden in Singapore, and there is this statue of the Chopin sitting by the piano. And it says...
Big statue, yeah?
It says
right there in Singapore.
It says the most famous Polish composer. So we have to remember that.
We have to remember
Chopin is our guy.
This airport's very new.
Yes, it's new, yeah.
And the experience keeps getting, you can call it an airport experience, the experience of traveling, keeps getting better and better. And they have new hotels, and they've had hotels for a while. But there's even a train connection to the station.
There is a train connection, yes.
Which was unthinkable a few years ago.
Well, so I don't know why it was unthinkable. They had the railway lines, but nobody connected them together. Organisation.
Yeah, but it's really improving a lot. How do you find that business travelers who, being in the Chamber of Commerce, What do business people say about traveling to Poland? And
well, I think those who've not been before are very surprised because it's like being anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I think it is actually quite a good for business. It's a small airport, it's relatively easy to move around. If you're a business traveller, you can go through security in different places, just much quieter. Sit in one of the little lounges. I think the lounge is probably not quite as spectacular as the business lounges at, say, Charles de Gaulle, or when I used to go to West Africa and take the plane from here, get to Charles de Gaulle, and then you had to sort of wait about 4 hours in the Charles de Gaulle lounge, quaffing champagne before you got on the airplane. And of course, rather interesting, all the airplanes to West Africa from Paris tend to leave about lunchtime. So if you're traveling business, all Air France have to do, and because it's West Africa and former French colony, it tends to be Air France, is serve you a jolly good lunch for 6 hours.
Yeah.
So that's amongst my most enjoyable recent travels.
We've really enjoyed showing you around Warsaw's major airport. They're building a new airport in the near future. It should be open in 3 or 4 years between Warsaw and Łódź, and that is really going to increase the air traffic in and out of Poland, both freight and passenger. These are exciting times in the air industry in Poland, both for the airlines, a lot of Polish airlines, and for the airport infrastructure. Poland is growing, and as it grows, so must its airports and its air traffic. We were very glad to be able to spend a couple of days over at the airport and doing some interviews, walking around and getting to know the place. We hope that when you fly into Poland and fly out of Poland, that you'll feel like you know things that you need to know and have just a little bit more information, make you comfortable in all your travels in and out of Poland. Poland Daily Travel. We were glad to show you around Warsaw's Chopin Airport. Stay tuned for more excitement next week when we show you other things from the capital of Poland, Warsaw, the ancient city.